Get out of my salon. Take your apron and your scissors and walk out that door right now. You are fired. Patricia Hollies slammed her hand on the front counter of Hollies' premier salon in downtown Charleston, South Carolina. 12 customers in the waiting area went silent. The other 6 stylists stopped working. The black woman standing in front of the counter did not move. Her name was Tasha Williams. She was 34 years old. She was a single mother of 2 little girls. She had worked at this salon for 7 years. Mrs. Hollies, please. He was a veteran. He had no money. He just wanted a haircut for his grandson's funeral tomorrow. I did not charge him because I had a free 30-minute slot. I did not take anything from the salon. Tasha's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. Patricia Hollies, the 61-year-old white owner of the salon, laughed coldly. I do not care if he was the President of the United States. This is a business, not a charity. We do not give free haircuts to homeless old men who walk in off the street. Now get out before I call security. Tasha Williams took off her black salon apron. She folded it carefully on the counter. She placed her scissors next to the apron. She did not cry. She did not yell. She just picked up her purse, walked out of the salon onto King Street, and stood on the sidewalk in the bright afternoon sunlight. She had no idea that the elderly veteran she had given a free haircut to 2 hours earlier was about to change her entire life. Before this story breaks your heart and rebuilds it again, do me one small favor. If you believe a small act of kindness is more powerful than the people who try to punish you for it, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing. Now let's rewind. Because to understand what happened on King Street that afternoon, you have to go back exactly 2 hours. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October. The salon was unusually quiet. Most of the stylists were on their lunch break. Tasha Williams was the only one still on the floor. The bell on the front door rang at 2:14 in the afternoon. An elderly man walked in slowly. He was wearing an old Army field jacket from the Vietnam War era. The fabric was faded. There was a small American flag pin on the collar. His gray hair was overgrown. His beard had not been trimmed in months. He looked like he had been sleeping rough. The man walked up to the counter. His voice was very quiet. Ma'am, I am sorry to bother you. I do not have very much money, but my grandson's funeral is tomorrow. He was 8 years old, cancer. I just wanted to look respectable when I bury him. I have $11. I know that is not enough for a haircut here. But would you maybe know somewhere cheaper I could go? Tasha Williams looked at the elderly veteran. She looked at his calloused old hands clutching the $11 bills. She looked at the tears already sitting in his eyes that he was trying not to let fall. Her father had been a Vietnam veteran, too. He had passed away when Tasha was 16. He had also been a black veteran of the same war. So Tasha did the only thing she knew how to do. She smiled at the old man and said, Sir, please put your money back in your pocket. I have a free 30-minute slot right now. Why don't you sit down in chair number 4? I would be honored to give you a haircut for your grandson's funeral. The old man started crying right there in the waiting area. Tasha walked him back to her station. She washed his hair carefully. She trimmed his beard. She gave him the cleanest, most dignified haircut she had given anybody in 7 years. While she worked, the old man told her about his life. He had served 2 tours in Vietnam. He had come home in 1971 to a country that did not want to thank him. He had struggled with PTSD for 50 years. He had been homeless on and off for the last 15 years. His grandson Marcus had been the only person in his family who still talked to him. Now Marcus was gone too. When Tasha finished the haircut, the old man looked in the mirror and started crying again. Ma'am, I look like a man again, thank you. I will never forget this. He slowly pulled the $11 out of his pocket and tried to hand it to her. Tasha gently pushed his hand back. Sir, please keep your money. You will need it tomorrow. What is your name? My name is Walter Brennan, ma'am. Mr. Brennan, my father was a veteran of your same war. His name was James Williams. I am giving you this haircut today in his memory. Walter Brennan stood up slowly. He saluted Tasha Williams. The old man saluted her like he was saluting a 4-star general. Then he walked out of the salon. Tasha did not know that one of the other stylists, a thin, blonde woman named Crystal who had never liked her, had been watching the whole thing from the break room. Crystal had taken a video of the haircut on her phone. 20 minutes later, Crystal had emailed the video to Patricia Hollies at home. It was actually the 5th time Tasha had given a free haircut that year. But Patricia Hollies had also been looking for an excuse to fire her for almost a year. Tasha was the only black stylist left at Hollies' premier salon. Patricia had quietly let go of 2 other black stylists in the last 18 months. Patricia could not stand that some of her best customers preferred a black stylist over the white stylist she had hired. And now she had her excuse. Patricia Hollies drove to the salon at high speed. She walked in at 4:31 in the afternoon. She fired Tasha Williams in front of 12 customers and 6 other employees. Tasha stood on the sidewalk on King Street for a long moment. Her rent was due in 9 days. She had 2 daughters at home. Layla was 11. Little Amara was 6. Their father had been killed in a car accident 3 years ago. Tasha was the only income for her family. She took a deep breath. She wiped one tear off her cheek. And then she started walking toward the bus stop. What Tasha did not know was that Walter Brennan had been walking very slowly down King Street that whole time. He had stopped at a bench 3 blocks down to rest his old legs. As he sat on the bench, an elegant black town car pulled up in front of him. The driver got out and opened the back door. A man in his early 50s stepped out. He was wearing a dark gray suit. He had silver at his temples. He looked exactly like the elderly veteran sitting on the bench, just 30 years younger. "Dad, sorry I am late. Are you ready for dinner?" Walter Brennan looked up. He smiled sadly. "Son, I had the most incredible thing happen to me today." The man in the suit was Mayor David Brennan of Charleston. He was the elected mayor of the city. He was one of the most powerful black mayors in the southeast region of the United States. He was the son of Walter Brennan, the estranged son. They had only reconciled 6 months ago after the diagnosis of David's young son Marcus. The funeral was tomorrow. David Brennan helped his elderly father into the back of the town car. As they drove to the small restaurant, Walter Brennan told his son the entire story. About walking into Holly's premier salon with $11. About the kind young black woman named Tasha Williams. About the free haircut she had given him in memory of her own father. About the salute he had given her on the way out. Mayor David Brennan listened without saying a single word. When his father finished, David quietly took out his phone. He sent a brief text message to his chief of staff, a sharp woman named Gloria Reeves. The message said, "Find me everything you can on a stylist named Tasha Williams who works at Holly's premier salon on King Street. I need it within 1 hour." 40 minutes later, Gloria Reeves called him back. "Sir, Tasha Williams was fired this afternoon at 4:31. The salon owner is a woman named Patricia Hollies. There is also something else, sir. Tasha Williams has filed 2 informal complaints with the South Carolina Labor Board over the last 18 months. Both complaints were about racial discrimination. Both complaints were dismissed without investigation. I checked Patricia Hollies' record. She has fired 4 black employees in the last 3 years. 3 of them filed complaints. None were ever properly investigated." Mayor David Brennan set down his fork very slowly. He looked at his 80-year-old father across the small restaurant table. The old man was eating slowly. He had clearly not eaten a proper meal in many days. The mayor's voice was steady when he finally spoke. "Gloria, I need you to do 3 things for me tonight. First, find Tasha Williams's home address. Send a courier with $2,000 cash to cover her bills. Do not let it come back to my office. Second, call the South Carolina State Labor Commissioner first thing in the morning. I want a full investigation opened on Holly's premier salon by 9 o'clock m. 3rd. Find me the best black-owned commercial real estate property on King Street that is currently for lease. I do not care about the price." The next morning, the funeral for 8-year-old Marcus Brennan was held at a small Baptist church on the south side of Charleston. Walter Brennan stood next to his son David. The old veteran was wearing his clean Army field jacket. His hair was neatly trimmed. His beard was clean. He looked like a man with dignity. After the funeral, Mayor David Brennan made one phone call to a local Charleston television station. He told the station's news director that he would be holding a brief press conference the following morning at 10 o'clock a.m. The location of the press conference would be the sidewalk in front of Holly's premier salon on King Street. The next morning at 9:47, Tasha Williams was sitting on her small couch trying to figure out how to pay her rent. The $2,000 envelope from a courier the previous night had been a complete mystery. There had been no return address, just a folded note that said, "From a grateful father, more to come tomorrow morning. Watch the local news at 10. Tasha had cried for an hour reading that note. At exactly 10 o'clock a.m., she turned on her small television. The local news was already broadcasting live from King Street. Mayor David Brennan was walking up to a microphone on the sidewalk. Behind him was his 80-year-old father, Walter Brennan, in the same Army field jacket from the day before. Tasha stood up from her couch. She put her hand over her mouth. The mayor began to speak. "Ladies and gentlemen of Charleston, 2 days ago, my 80-year-old father walked into the salon behind me with $11 in his pocket. He needed a haircut for the funeral of my 8-year-old son. We buried Marcus yesterday morning. The young woman who gave my father that haircut, free of charge, in honor of her own late father who was also a veteran, is named Tasha Williams. She has worked at this salon for 7 years. She is a single mother of 2 daughters. She was fired from this salon at 4:31 that same afternoon for the crime of giving a free haircut to a homeless veteran." The mayor paused. "I have spent the last 48 hours reviewing the labor practices of Holly's premier salon. The owner, Patricia Holly's, has fired 4 black employees in the last 3 years. 3 of those former employees filed formal complaints of racial discrimination. The South Carolina Labor Commissioner has informed me this morning that those complaints will now be reopened with a full state investigation. I expect criminal charges may follow." He turned and gestured toward the empty storefront next door. "Ladies and gentlemen, the property directly next door to Holly's premier salon, the old jewelry store that has been empty for 2 years, has been purchased outright as of 8 a.m. this morning. By me personally, with my own money. The property is being donated to a new business. That business will be called Williams Family Hair Studio. The owner will be Mrs. Tasha Williams. She will receive the property rent-free for the first 3 years. She will also receive a startup grant of $75,000 from the Brennan Family Foundation in honor of my late son Marcus." The mayor smiled for the first time. "And my 80-year-old father has informed me that Mrs. Williams will be his official personal stylist for the rest of his life." The crowd of reporters started clapping. Inside Holly's premier salon, Patricia Holly's had been watching the news through the front window. Her face had gone completely white. The lunchtime customers in her waiting area began to quietly stand up and walk out. None of them looked at her. By 11:30 that morning, Holly's premier salon was completely empty. By 2 o'clock that afternoon, 4 of Patricia's 6 remaining stylists had handed in their resignation letters. Within 30 days, the salon was closed permanently. Within 60 days, the South Carolina State Labor Commissioner had filed a formal civil case against Patricia Holly's for repeated workplace discrimination. The case was settled out of court for an amount that has never been publicly disclosed. The families of the 4 fired black stylists each received a substantial financial settlement. Williams Family Hair Studio opened on King Street exactly 58 days after the mayor's press conference. The grand opening was attended by Mayor David Brennan, his wife Sarah, and his 80-year-old father Walter Brennan, who cut the ribbon himself with an old pair of army scissors he had carried with him since Vietnam. Tasha Williams hired 4 other stylists in her first month. 3 of them were black women who had been fired from white-toned salons in the Charleston area over the last 2 years. The 4th was a young white woman named Crystal Marston, the same woman who had emailed the original video to Patricia Holly's. Crystal had walked into Tasha's new salon 35 days after it opened, sobbing, asking for forgiveness. Tasha had hired her on the spot. "Honey, the world has enough women tearing each other down. We are not going to be one of them." 1 year later, Williams Family Hair Studio had become one of the most popular salons in downtown Charleston. Tasha had also quietly started a program called the Brennan Free Cut. Every Tuesday afternoon between 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock, any veteran in Charleston who could not afford a haircut could come and receive a free haircut, free hair wash, and a free hot meal. Walter Brennan, now 81, sits in the salon every Tuesday afternoon in a comfortable leather chair near the window. He greets each veteran by name. He shakes every single one of their hands. So here is what I want to leave you with tonight. Patricia Holly's spent her whole life believing that a kind heart was a weakness. She thought a black single mother giving a free haircut to a homeless veteran was an act she could punish. She did not know that kindness travels in ways the cruel can never measure. She did not know that the homeless old man with $11 in his pocket had a son in the mayor's office. Think about the Tasha Williamses around you right now. The quiet women working 2 jobs. The single mothers giving away small kindnesses they cannot even afford. The black women being punished by their own bosses for the crime of being decent human beings. The world has been telling them for generations that their kindness is a weakness. The world has been wrong every single time. If this story moved you tonight, do me one final favor. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next story, and drop a comment below telling me about a Tasher in your own life. The quiet one, the one who gave away something she could not afford to give. Because the world is full of women whose small kindnesses are about to come back to them. And the only question that matters tonight is whether we are paying close enough attention to honor them when their moment finally comes. See you in the next story.